Good evening and welcome back to the Student StarCraft AI tournament. The deadline for CIG has been extended to the 16th of July, if I'm not very much mistaken. So we are going to wait a little bit more for that. And with that, tonight we'll have all the recommended games and of course a selection of my own, which will comprise a few not so very top bots, but still very respectable in the level of play, and let's see how it's going to be. This time I had Purple Wave versus Purple Spirit, of course both by Dan, and Purple Wave pestering the probe a little bit, and multiple probes, and there the first Marine chases it back home. Purple Wave going for a range 2-gate kind of a thing, and here comes the first Zealot. There you go. But of course the defenses have already been shored up. We've got a bunker, and the first Zealot is going to find out that it will not stand for any Protoss trespassing. Here comes the first Goon, and it's stuck on this SCV a little bit, but then it will try perhaps and range it. Oh no, it will not. It's just for a bit of pressure, and then we are going to see some kind of a Corsair build with... oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. That looks a lot like the stove, and if you do not know what the stove is it's a scout thing with Dark Templars, and here you go. The scout is a little bit hesitant. Here comes the first turret, but the SCV is being engaged, and the scout can't really find the right position, which will lead to the conclusion of the construction of this turret, and then I fear that Purple Spirit will be perfectly safe. Here comes the second scout, and where are the DTs at? Well, here's the archives, and here's the first Dark Templar. Of course, well, there is only one turret, and that's good for Protoss, for now at least. And although these two scouts can't really find another way, and there is only one turret on the entire map, but for the rest of them, oh, here we go. Here comes the Dark Templar. We have no comsat yet, we have no mines, and the movement is rather erratic. And it finds the SCV lines, and that's a lot of kills already. Now, the Marines exit the bunker for some stupid reason, and they get themselves killed. We've now got 2 DTs, and of course the natural started by Purple Wave. And let me check, recording is running. I thought I'd been talking to myself for a couple of minutes without actually recording anything. The scouts, however, are not so well occupied. They are camping the high ground for reasons best known to themselves, and the Dark Templars, which are now 3, are in the base evading the turrets, and here comes, I think, the academy, but it's going to take forever. The scouts are now, I think there are 4, yes, 4 scouts, and the Dark Templars are really going to town on all these poor little SCVs. First comset is there, and the Dark Templars get themselves scanned, and all of them... oh no, one makes a run for it and gets away. That's good. Are there any more coming? No, it was just an opening, and as such you have got 1 DT, handful of scouts. Oh god, that's not how you do it at all. The scouts could be pestering over here where there is not so much anti-air. There is another wave of scans prepping, and I lost sight of the Dark Templar, which... oh, it's here. Has found Goliath, and Goliath... ooh, it's trying to beat back the opposing army, and the rest of the army of Purple Wave is not doing anything at all. Now there is a science vessel, and both armies are really conflicted in where they want to go and what they want to attack. So this will be pretty hard to cast. Now, third base being started by Purple Wave, and Purple Spirit, of course, is still malingering in his base, but with the siege tanks and the anti-air and the 2 comsats and the 1 science vessel, it should be pretty safe from DTs. And Purple Wave has got quite a nice army, but it's not doing anything with that. And of course, you shouldn't do that while there is so much defense on this side. Now, third base operational, and a couple of turrets, pylons, or are they going to be... I think they're going to be cannons. And the science vessel being rather dangerously close to a lot of scouts. Oh, and now the Terran army is just rolling up whatever the Protoss has got, and the Protoss unit control is not really the best. It's too hesitant, back and forth, and the Terran just goes forth and kills everything in its path. Now with the mines and with the vultures, all the zealots evaporate. The Arbiter has some nice insights into the matter, but unfortunately it's not really working as well as planned. Nice stasis, which will give the other army units a bit of a rest, but then again, still it's looking pretty grim. Oh, that's almost a perfect block of this match, and the reinforcements are rolling up. And now it's waiting for the tanks to come and do their duty. The Arbiter dies, the Protoss units will probably die as well. That's very unfortunate, but so it goes. And yeah, what else can be said? Protoss, nice start, nice tactics, but the follow-up was just too weak. Now the tanks are there, and the tanks with a handful of supporting units can do quite awful things to the Protoss. But Protoss with a 4th base, and although there is an SCV over here, Terran is on 2, and if this push, yes, there you go, another good stasis. Protoss has got the macro advantage, and if it didn't lose so many zealots to tank fire, it would be in an okay position. Now some tanks will die, and some zealots reach the tanks, a little bit of friendly fire here and there, and the goons kill some more. So for the time being, we've got a bit of a wasteful standoff from a Protoss point of view. The Terran tries to make things work. Oh, and the zealots, just when they reach the tanks, they retreat, and that's so irritating. Oh, there is a Valkyrie, and it's fighting with an Arbiter over here. But the Protoss war machine is really putting an effort into it, and with the superior macro and still stupidly retreating zealots, it can sort of hold this 3rd base. There is a Templar now. Is there Storm? Yes, it's almost done. There you go. And yeah, no, that was the end of the Templar, so unit movement could be better. Terran main, however, is mining out, Natural's getting low as well, and Protoss just has got more stuff at this point. And this Templar is playing Minesweeper with a couple of goons as backup. That's just not how it's done, and the army movement is pretty terrible for Protoss. In and out, blowing up to mines, couple of stray tanks that could have overrun this Terran thing ages ago. Throwing away Templar, but because the macro is so good with 4 versus, well, only 1 base at this moment really, this base is sort of not up and running. The Protoss finally is finding the courage to do away with these tanks with 2 Arbiters in pursuit of this army. Oh, and this mine is very unfortunate, but it probably will get killed. Yes, there it is. And now Terran is in a world of trouble because the Natural is mining out, and although the Arbiters all do get themselves killed, the Protoss army is pretty strong, and of course the Terran can't replenish as well as it could. Now, a handful of units also finding this settlement over here, and that means that Terran is in for a world of hurt. Oh dear, nice stasis on the SCVs. I think that was meant for the Goliaths, but still a lot of SCVs, and that means no repair, no income, and as this base is up for grabs as well, it is a Protoss victory. Could have been better, but still Protoss impressing you with the macro at least, and trying to rebuild the comset while your entire base is overrun is not going to work. So, next game up, it is Gibot versus Purple Swarm, and Gibot has been working hard. Purple Swarm, of course, all 3 races of purple have we had now, Terran, Zerg and the Protoss. So let's see how the Purple Swarm is going to play, and Gibot has a penchant for playing long drawn-out games versus everyone, starting off with a nice sort of rudimentary SimCity. Should be safe against a lot of things, but could be a little bit better. And let's see how the Zerglings are going to fare. 2 cannons and a lot of Zerglings dead. Ooh, a little bit of shields off this cannon, and a probe will be lost, but then the Zealot chases it back. Well, the Zergling that is, and now the Zealots are going to do some hurt over here. But with a handful of Zerglings and 1 sunken, that should not be too much of a problem. The scouting probe is going to get chased away again. So, early game. Standoff, both players on 2 bases. We've got the Spire up, we've got the 3rd base up and running with an extra hatchery started already, and the Zerglings controlling the map. But here we have got a Corsair with 2 or now 3 Mutas, and although the Corsair does a fair bit of damage, oh yes, there we go, now we've got 4 Mutas, and they've basically got free range, especially with a couple of Scourge coming up. So this Corsair had better be pretty careful, and the Scourge just ignored the turrets, and that's the end of that. So third base up and running worker-wise. Ebot 44 versus 24 of Zerg, and flipping out shuttle. Zerg is throwing units away left and right, like we saw the Terran and the Protoss do, without much consideration for what lies ahead of them. They just move in and out all the time, and although they do a fair bit of damage, they lose a lot of hit points themselves, and now finally the Mutas have found a good place to harass, but they are not really effective. They are just throwing away stuff left and right, and the Mutas are getting so low, just flying over the turrets and taking shots from the Corsairs. The Scourge plain ignoring the turrets, that's not good at all. Ooh, lucky hit over there. But still, all in all, Zerg is starting a fourth base, and although there are two Zealots over here, there is still a Sunken and a couple of Mutas. So Protoss is doing okay for the moment, but really should get some kind of a plan together. And now with two Corsairs might have something to say in the air department. But there goes the first one, and the second one heads back with a sliver of health left. But here comes the shuttle, and let's see what's going to be in that. Unfortunately, there's a Muta emerging just from that very hatchery, and it ignores the shuttle. No, it doesn't ignore the shuttle, it goes after it. And let's see what the Scourge are going to do. Oh yes, one is coming, two are coming, and perhaps we are never going to find out what is in the shuttle. The Scourge... Ah, no! It still lives. But what's it going to do? And the Muta nabs it, so that's very unfortunate. Protoss now out with two Zealots on the map, and with a... Oh god, this is so unconcerted in the way of an attack. But the thing is, Main has got a lot of use in it, lots of workers, Natural still up and running, but the fourth base for Zerg is up, and where Zerg had 24 workers, it has got 29 now. So these two Zealots can probably do away with one Sunken if they would have committed to that. And now the drone is getting back. Oh dear, and the Scourge of course can't really do much about that. Ooh, lucky observer there. Fifth base being started by Zerg, and Zerg has got virtually no army. It's got a handful of air units which are terribly bad at harassing things and very good at dying and taking damage. So now the Protoss Zealots are overrunning the one ground defense, and of course there is a Muta overhead, but this Muta will probably not kill anything. Oh, and the rest of the Mutas are coming back. Might just save the hive, but a lot of workers, the Sunken, are down, and the Spire might just... No, the Spire will probably be saved. A couple of Mutas dead, but Gibot doing okay, and here comes... Oh no, that's not a shuttle. That's just a couple of observers, and they doing much damage. But the ground army from Protoss is now... Oh, that's a lot of Zealots. And although all the Mutas are in pursuit, there isn't much else, and that's very unfortunate, at least for Zerg. And now another couple of workers are going to die, and the Mutas can do a lot of damage, but it's not really working as well as it could have. Now the shuttle is over here, and it's a Reaver. So we've got a Reaver in the line, one Muta overhead to try and kill it, and now two. And another Scourge in pursuit. So again, a lot of workers lost, and that's unfortunate. The Natural has been salvaged somewhat, and Gibot, it's doing okay, but it should really be taking a third right now. And although, oh, it's trying to take a third, but it hasn't got money. That's unfortunate. Now, ooh, the Mutas take 2 shots from that Archon. That's a lot of damage as well, and no defenses whatsoever. Zerg is trying to do this without an army this game, it looks like. And still only 26 workers, lots of bases. So, oh god, the poor Mutas. Oh, that's one Archon, and now it's only one High Templar. There are a lot of Mutas, but they are so good at taking damage, it's really insane. And if we look at the production tab from Zerg, it's just a handful of everything. There is no general... Oh, here, no, still no Natural taken. And main is getting low from Protoss, so... the Scourge, oh god. And meanwhile, the Zealots can't make up their mind either. So it's really... this game is running right off the rails. And if this Zealot army decides to push over here, it might be very bloody, because Zerg hasn't got an army. It's got 20 army supply, and that's in stupid mutas. And these Zealots are going to kill this base, no questions asked. And although there are a lot of mutas coming up, with the few Corsairs and 1.5 Archon that there are, it's, yeah, there you go, that's the hive. And I'm going to speed it up, because I don't really think that Zerg... Oh god, look at that, so many Scourge, and they're all going to die. Now the Muta Cloud has grown somewhat and is chasing back the Zealots, but oh, Geebot really needs... Oh, here we go. Here we go, this is such a clusterfuck of a game. And at least the Reaver will die, so the ground units will be saved somewhat, and now it's a disconcertingly random struggle between Mutas and Corsairs for map dominance. The Natural's gone, the main is still there. But here was the Hive, and without a Hive or without tech, it's very hard to get things done. Zerg still hasn't got an army, and that's just beyond anything logical. Again, a Protoss death train is approaching the main base, and without... Oh, here's the Air Force, and it's going a little bit better this time. The storms all fluff, and this Archon is being ignored while it's morphing, and the Zealots are being killed. Here comes the Archon, and immediately the Mutas run again, because they are pretty low and they can't really contest with a firepower of that kind. Oh dear, some struggle going on here, and with the... yeah, perhaps with Protoss being completely mined out, it's 30 versus 60 army supply. The Archon dies in a bloodbath of Zerglings and a lot of fallen Muta wings. I thought the Zealots might have reached this base. And now it's the Protoss army which cannot be replenished, and a lot of Scourge, which have not really got the best day in their lives. Storm's going off, the Archon is going to be killed. Yes, there it goes, and now the army hasn't got any air cover anymore. So where this was 80 versus 20 earlier, it's now 40 versus 30. Natural is retaken, and still there is a lot of firepower on the ground. And finally, oh, this looks more like it. So yeah, that's how you play defense. And have we got a Hive again? Yep, we've got a Hive again. So you can basically see that Geebot is losing army and doing damage all the same, but it can't really replenish, it can't replenish at all. Now the Mutas are all over this. One cloud here, a small group over there, and now it's 50 army supply for Zerg, but it's not really what you might say, oh, lots of upgrades too. It's a wacky army composition with a lot of air and no ground army, very little defense in the form of Sunkens or Spores, and it's a pretty wild composition after all. So, GG, Purple Wave winning 2 out of 2 games, being involved in with 3 bots, so that's not too surprising. Let's get into the next game. It is Cherry Pie, the Facebook bot. I hope it will be updated for CIG. I don't know for sure. I have to pester the admins of CIG for an update on who is participating. But it was pretty good. It made a very impressive start. It learned like no other. It was very ruthless. Won the Zerg vs Zerg finals of our little tournament in the 2017 finals. And Egbert has been plodding along and just updated it bot. So I thought, well, let's see how it's going to play versus this monster of a Zerg, Cherry Pie. Cherry Pie taking the natural first, then planting the spawning pool and another in-base hatchery, going, it looks like, for a lot of Zerglings, and the game of tag is still on foot. Here you go. Egbert now with 2 barracks is, well, I think that's a very beautifully placed bunker. You need a lot of Zerglings to run by that, and of course 2 will be coming, but they are going to find, oh, they're going to wait. That's very good. And 2 Sunken, so perhaps Cherry Pie has selected a build order which does well versus Bio, and you can see with the quick comsat, and here we go, that will be Stim, and Zergling speed is there of course, and now it looks like it's a Hydra Den and a quick lair. Perhaps we're going to see Lurker play, I don't know. 4 Sunkens, lots of work, as you can see Cherry Pie droning like a madman with 3 bases up already. And Egbert only now starting its natural. But this army, as a Zerg player, you need a lot of turrets or Hydras or Lurkers to stop that. It is so very potent, and The range is done, the +1 weapons is starting, and that's just such a dangerous push, even off one base of a Terran. And look at that, that's a beautifully protected spire, there we go. And a third base immediately being saturated, workers almost double for Zerg, and with a very small army, and that's so very dangerous, because you've got a while before the enemy reaches you, but then again, you will have to contend with about 40 army supply worth of bio, and although, no, you nearly got one marine killed, but that's a lot of damage done to the Zerg, a couple of units lost. Terran didn't lose anything, and Terran will continue to macro their army up. The Muta is overhead, but it's not really in a position to do much with these stimming marines with medics. And now the fourth base with more. Wow, that's pretty ballsy. You can see Cherry Pie just playing the contain game, but still getting some kind of an army together, and that's good. A couple of marines being chewed off the top, losing a large handful of Zerglings, and playing this game of kite pretty beautifully. Terran must be kept in his base for as long as humanly possible, and the grouping of Terran allows the Zerg to kill relatively many marines. The Mute is overhead with the nice concave over here, and behind that, just taking another base. It's just going to be about macro, and if Terran can't get out of this base, the game will be over pretty quickly, because if you look at the army composition, it's not too bad. It's a handful of Zerglings, it's one Hydra, a couple of Overlords, and the Bio army looks to be okay with that. Upgrade-wise, well, lots of Zerg upgrades, Overlord speed for instance, but Terran is still ahead there, I would say. The problem is this, that there is a perfect balance of Zerglings, Mutas, Hydras, and a hell of a lot of drones. Tech, new hatcheries, Overlord, Cherry Pie is playing this immaculately. And the only problem is this one push. If you can't stop this one push, Terran will be dead in the water, and now from two sides the Zerg is everywhere, and then it runs, detaches from the battle again, cuts off a few marines here and there, and now Terran will be in for a world of hurt. A third base up, nice to sneak an SCV out like that, but by now the Terran has got half the SCVs of Zerg, and Zerg is not going to stop. Zerg is producing units. You can see the production tab, it looks like this all the time. You've got tech, you've got units, Zerglings, Overlords, the lot. Upgrade wise, Terran is doing very well. Zerg isn't, well, basically you've got the basic upgrades, but no kind of tech, just basic units trying to get things done. But here is the real problem, that this army has never really surpassed 50. Now it's back to about 40. The main is getting low. There is one Muta over here. It will be chased, killed rather. And now Zerg is in there. While the units all went back to try and defend the main, the Zerglings are overrunning the natural. And although this army is going to chase them all back, the worker count of Egbert has been suffering. And you can see this Zergling army. It's like being microed on an elastic band. They're just so keen to get in, to get out. A couple of fire bats would do pretty well, and they are just going for it. Although they are suffering horribly, this blood is almost all Zerglings, but then the Terran army is being chased back up the ramp. The expeditionary force is being crushed over here. The ramp is being broken, a bunker is being rebuilt, the medic is holding on for dear life. Egbert is holding, but with 7 versus now 50 army supply, you can see the minimap. It is gorgeous. You can see all the eggs hatching. You can see, well, I'll show you once more. The production tab just looks like Zerg, Overlord, random units here and there. A couple of Overlords just for good measure. Oh, this base has been raised without me noticing it. And by now, we've got Mutas and Ultras all over the place. Ultras have got the armor upgrade. Have they got the speed as well? Don't know yet. But now this unit composition is all about the Zerglings. And I think that Egbert will have to work hard to try and deal with this. A couple of fire bats might be nice, more defensive play, but versus a Cherry Pie like this, it is very hard going, and you can see what the end composition looked like. 127 Zerglings, and that is a lot of damage, especially if you have got this aggressive decision making and a committance of the general AI. So these Zerglings don't waver in and out all the time. They try to determine what they can kill, they will kill it, and then it is the GG. So next game up, it is Wilbot with an upgrade as well, and the opponent is TSMU Zerg. And let's see how that's going to pan out. Wilbot is going for depot, barracks. Looked like a bio build as well, and let's see how TSMU Zerg is going to do, because TSMU of course is working on the Facebook bot. In what capacity we do not know. They are somewhat secretive about that, and of course with the future of mankind and AI domination in the world hanging on it, on this Facebook AI, I can understand why. So TSMU is going for the same kind of spiel that the Cherry Pie was doing earlier, rather aggressive on the micro, quick upgrades, and try to balance things as well as you can with the third base up and running, or started at least, and lots and lots of drones, and that looks suspiciously like Cherry Pie. So, handful of bio, but this time there are more firebats and there is tanks. So, pure Marines versus pure Zergling is not really the best. With the tank and with a handful of firebats, that's going to be a bit more of a problem. And now moving down towards the low ground, TSMU taking its sweet time, building upgrades as well, building lurkers, and Terran is somewhat like Egbert in that regard, that it will just go for a heavy bio contingent and back that up, however, with firebats and tanks, and that will be beautiful. TSMU not really wasting as much APM as Cherry Pie does, not with this sprawling, swarming Zerg army, but still the general principle is lots of units and lots of turrets all over the place, lots of hatcheries, quick tech, and there should be a fourth base soon somewhere, but I can't really see it yet. Overlord coming to take a peek and die. And TSMU with the same smallish army, and Egbert try to move out with 50. I think that Wilbot might do something similar, has got a large army. Scouting Marine gets clipped. But Wilbot is going to be a little bit safer with a nice tank on the high ground, but the Lings keeping their perfect distance. That's pretty well done. And TSMU, what's it going to do next? Because it's only got this 3 base economy versus the 2 base of Terran, and with the Terran healing capacity, oh dear, we're going to see Plague, and that will be pretty ugly. But TSMU, where is the 4th base going to be? There is one here, but there is a Marine as well. And that is pretty pro by Wilbot, because then TSMU will have to send another drone, but not before dispatching of the Marine. And meanwhile, this glorious concave is over there, anti-air, and Wilbot has got all the time in the world, it thinks. It's got a pretty good composition, but the problem will be when TSMU gets his 4th base up and running, his 5th base, and there are lots of bases out there, which right now Wilbot just cannot take. There is a defiler, and consume is nearly done, so you can probably imagine how this is going to, what this is going to look like. We've got 2 defilers, we haven't got any lurkers. That is something that might be, oh dear, look at the direction that we've got queens and the lurker, of course. So TSMU is a little bit more whimsical than Cherry Pie. Cherry Pie just for world domination, victory, and crushing things. TSMU likes to do things in a certain way, and therefore we've got a queen. I wouldn't bet any money on not seeing an infested command center. And this Marine is pretty brave, but you can see the green tornadoes going off. We got 3 defilers with full energy, and that is the Scouting Marine. The 4th base is up, 5th base is started, and now the defilers are there. I think TSMU is trying to push a little bit, but it has been, well, getting stuck on the ridges. Now Wilbot has got a good army. There is a lot of stuff here buffering for the tanks, and there are 5 tanks which can do an ungodly amount of damage to the Ling composition. And there we go, TSMU trying to make things work. The defiler moving ever closer, but the other 2 are too far in the rear. And the lurker is going to die. The tanks are doing their utmost, and TSMU is losing 20-30 supply. It doesn't really matter. Nice play going off, but in an ideal world, you just set up a couple of leapfrogging lurkers over here, over there, and then work your way with Swarm into the Terran choke. 3rd base set up by Wilbot, that's good. Floating starport for reasons, but now all the units are just getting plagued, and the defilers have things well under control. TSU is not going to cast a Swarm and Stampede into this. Oh well, here you got a Swarm, 2 Swarms, and Wilbot, look at the supply, it had 80, but now with all these, oh dear, here comes another cool Swarm, and the Defilers just keep their heads down and start plaguing everything. Plagues going off left and right, and so much damage being done. And Wilbot, of course, has got a good position, but the infantry is sort of fleeing the scene, and that's not good. And you see the same thing here. TSU is just committing. Plague, move in, not move out, just go for the victory, waste that army, but know if you're going to play, you'll be in an okay position to take this game. A couple of swarms might be nice in this general area. And there you go. Oh, nice Plague again, and an Ensnare, and another one over here. So, yeah, third base is not really safe, it looks like, either. TSU has got 70 workers, lots of bases, taking more and more bases. Production tab-wise, it looks a lot like Cherry Pie, only that it's now making another hive. For reasons. So, Cherry Pie looks like TSU on speed with a couple of kings ironed out, and of course, a little bit more bloodthirsty. TSU is a little bit whimsical and more in containment and surrounding, but you can see the general principle that the main for Terran is mining out. Zerg is making all kinds of crazy units, but the Defilers are over here, 4 of them. And the Queen's overhead will cast Ensnare. There is a large Muta army, and damage is being done. So here we go. The fight is on, and Wilbot with his 40 army just can't do anything about that. Production tab is absolutely wild, and where Cherry Pie would make a lot of Zerglings, TSU is doing this with a lot of Hydras and Mutas, and Wilbot's decision to start making Ghosts at this point doesn't really matter. TSU is double, triple plaguing or ensnaring this base over here. Will we see an infest? Yep, there we go. Infested command center. No infested command center over here. Will this one be infested as well? Yes, there we go. Double infested command center. And that was the game. Unit composition wise, compared to Cherry Pie, TSU in for the lulls, but still for the victory. So, next game up, and this must be a recommendation, it's Locutus versus Buriva. And before I show you this, I should show you what the leaderboard at this moment looks like. It is Crazio on top, and it's taken 100 points and 3 from number 2 Locutus, and Iron has been dipped another 50 points, and then 20 behind that is the rest. So Crazio again reigning supreme, and I don't know if we've got a game of Crazio versus Locutus or versus anyone else, but Crazio has still been updating his mod, and it's getting ever better all the time. The amount of updates Crazio has received is really insane. So Locutus going for the nice SimCity, and this is also some kind of a SimCity, but more like a 2-gate. And Buriva looks like it's going to put on some kind of pressure thing, while Locutus is going to defend. But then again, Buriva is quicker with the expansion. That's pretty pro. And the scouting probe is harassing, doing its utmost. Natural, pretty low for Locutus. Has got the good SimCity, but there's not a third. That's just the 2-gate where it all started with. Upgrade-wise, Locutus a little bit quicker with the range, but I think that Buriva will be starting that as well. Yeah, there you go. Army-wise, both players pretty balanced, and although Buriva's got more probes and taking a third base while defending that at the 2 chokes and then abandoning it because there is an incursion of orange Protoss units and the entire natural is evacuated. I think that's good, but well, of course, it's being repopulated as well, so that's okay. And where the bloody hell? Okay, well, that's a bit of an overkill evacuation. But now Locutus is going for the throat, and setting up a third base. And while it's ahead, I think that only one cannon over here, one cannon over there. A little bit of a concerted effort on the part of the cannons. The SCVs, the probes are coming off the line, And now with 2 cannons up in the natural choke, or 1 up, 1 down. There you go, lots of damage being done. The Reaver with the Reaver, and is now going to dish out the damage. Meanwhile, workers are being lost, but not so much, because with a handful of other units, and of course the third is sort of defended, and immediately the Reaver shuttle making its way over to this base, and there it will have to contend with a couple of cannons. It could take out the cannons, but it's trying to fire away around, and that's not good, because there are... yeah, there you go. Lots of probes being lost, and of course the cannons being attacked as well. And these goons don't really find a way to defend that, because there is a goon counter push over here. And meanwhile, 1 cannon has been killed, and the other one is going to go as well if Lycudus isn't very careful. Lycudus' main army, though, is doing a little bit better than Bereaver's, and Bereaver is going for Templars, but the storm is not yet done, and that means that Lycudus will have a 4th base. And oh, this Reaver is really worth its weight in minerals and gas. Look at it go. And again a cannon being killed. And now going into the main base, where it will have an excellent opportunity to do a lot of damage. Lycudus' main army, though, is a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger. The storms have... oh, I've missed all the storms. That's pretty unfortunate. And now with the Reaver and the goons, I think that the Reaver can sort of hold. Lycudus, though, with a 5th base, macro-wise, in an excellent position. But this Reaver shuttle thing is really decimating the probe lines all over the place. And now killing turrets as well. And that's just not something that Lycudus can afford at this moment, because although it's got all the economy it wants over here, the probe saturation is dropping a bit, and Bereaver is setting up shop in the 4th base. And of course, oh, that is how you cast a storm! And then from the front, with 2 Reavers and a handful of supporting units, Bereaver is washing the map in goon blood. Oh, and another excellent storm. The Shuttle Reaver is coming back to help and defend. And Bereaver, oh dear, here it goes again. And look at that Reaver go. Bereaver really honoring its name. And the main army with the Templar, with the Reaver, doing a lot of damage. And Lycudus has got, ooh, taking a good couple of fights here and there. That's pretty pro. But it has got to be so careful, because it relies on gateway tech. And this Reaver could be firing a little bit better, but then again, no supporting units. But this base is completely torn to pieces by this Reaver. And although you can send a probe to try and stop that, it will just mean 15 minerals lost for 50. And of course, you're killing economy with a Reaver with army. That's always good. Now, Lycudus is trying to stabilize somewhat in the worker department, but the Reaver is going to be pushing hard, and with more Reavers slowly crawling up the front. Oh dear, this base is sort of shut down. The main is out-ish. The natural's getting low. These 2 bases are in an okay shape. That must not be denied. But oh dear, I've missed a glorious battle over here. And you can see, have we got more storm? No, the Reaver is dead, and Lycudus is making things work somewhat with his army of goons. This goon is going to be cut down, but every once in a while there will be a Reaver, there will be a storm, and then the goons will not like it so much. And you can see that the Reaver micro by Bereaver is pretty pro as well. And now you can see the Reavers crawling up the 3rd base. And the 1 cannon and the 1 Reaver are in no kind of shape to contest this kind of violence. We've got now 3 Reavers, 4 goons out here, and the Zealots take care of the cannon. So that was this base over here. The main is now out, and this battle over here is really being won, although at a really large cost in High Templar lives, by Bereaver. And Bereaver ought to use shuttles or arbiters for the movement of these slow things, but then again, it's getting its job done. And although the main is out, natural is low as is over here. All in all, it's a 90 versus 19 army supply situation, and you can afford to lose a couple of units. Killed another base, and the problem is not losing a handful of units over here. The problem is not really being quick enough with these Reaver. A couple of extra shuttles would have been nice. Arbiter would have been glorious at this stage of the game. And will we have that? Probably. That must be the tribunal, because we've got all the other buildings, and we've got a fleet beacon and a starport. We've got a scout, and now just ignoring the third, rolling right up these bases over here, because that is really where Locutus' lifeblood is at this moment. And this main army is so slow. These two Reavers are suffering an ignominious death, but then again doing a hell of a lot of damage. And oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This base being completely overrun. The goons being a little bit hesitant, but probes are being lost, and it's still 100 versus almost 15 army supply. That is not good at all. So, oh no, it's a robo bay. So why would you content yourself with only one robo bay if you can have 5, if we haven't got more? So you can see lots of Reavers crawling over the map. And ooh, excellent storm again. Locutus not really trying to dodge it anymore, just trying to hold its ground. But there is just too much stuff. This base is being quickly torn to pieces with 4 Reavers. Look at all the firepower. This Nexus is going down record speed, and there is just no defense over here as well. So going to call the GG, I think, because this game will go on for a little while longer, but it can only go one way. And let's go into the next game, which will be Halpan versus Purple Swarm. And well, we've got a lot of purple bots in this broadcast, but I really wanted to see Halpan, because Halpan was based off Iron, and in the beginning was really struggling to get itself together and set up a decent show. Has been getting better and better, and is consistently being updated, so that's very reassuring. Of course, you can take a highly complex product like Iron and try to build something of that, or try and improve upon that, but that's just very hard. I once remember a Facebook post of someone who said, well, I was trying to get into this Brute YI thing, and I took a copy of the best mod over there, which was TSMU, and I don't understand any of this. It is so hard. And, well, TSMU is one of the complexer AIs over there, and from what I've heard, it's not awfully well documented, so that may be. And that's just something that you should try and avoid. If you are going to go for a journey into Brute YI, try starting with the example bot. Just try to get things done, get a feel for the interface and the IDE you are going to use, and then perhaps use a better bot like Steamhammer. Try to do something with that, and as you go along, prepare to spend a lot of time just watching other bots play, look at the code, see how other players have done things, and oh, Purple Swarm going for a bust. There is a bunker on the high ground with a lot of repair, so I think these Hydras will not really like it. Hydras, low ground, bunker range +1, and although some units are dying over here, the problem for Halpan is it hasn't got a natural, and Purple Swarm has got 3 bases already. Worker count wise, it is okay, but not too good. And Halpan moving down the ramp, trying to re-establish itself on the low ground, but that's going to be very hard with all these Hydras over there. And now with the tank, it might be a little bit easier. And Halpan is just doing everything off one base, and that's okay, but I think that Cherry Pie and TSMU might, oh dear, here's the entire Zerg army, might have balanced their workers and eco a little bit better. Now you've only got 22 Zerg workers, and they're all here and there and nothing over here. That's going to be another base, that's good, but you also need the workers to try and defend that. And with 1 tank on the high ground, I think this natural is going to be lost again. Now with the bunker on the high ground, it is a very beautiful defensive position, and we could set up a similar one over here at the bridges. And this is just going to be a Zerg death trap with the suppressing fire of this tank, and then the bunker on the ramp. It's going to be hellish for these Hydras. They should just kill the command center, but they don't really seem to want to do that. And still only 22 workers for Zerg, while Halpan has got 33, and once this command center is up, it will have double the economy of Zerg, probably, or at least more. Not double, but significantly more, because it's got more workers. And Purple Swarm is building a lot of units, but it's also building only 1 hatchery per base. and throwing away a crap load of Hydras over here. These Marines must have 20 kills each by now. That's really unfortunate for Zerg. And Halpan really ought to try and get more tanks together to try and prevent this kind of incursion over here. And still 22 workers. The occasional units being built. Just build a fat round of drones and build a couple of extra macro hatches. You'll be golden. But then again, Purple Swarm is not as good as TSC Zerg or Cherry Pie, I would say. Then we are going in for another round of kill as many Hydras as you can in exchange for only a handful of SCVs. There you go. Units being wasted all over the place and still 22 workers, and the problem for Halpan is that it can't really move down and it will eventually mine out its main. And without more tanks or more coherent unit micro in this area, it can't move down with its army either. So there you go, the stalemate of the minute and still 22 workers. There we go. Oh, and now Halpan is moving down the ramp. The Wraith is detracting 30 Hydras. 2 Wraiths are basically, but doesn't really matter. But Halpan is now out of the box. And Zerg still got 22 workers, so nothing much is happening. And between the mines, the Marines and the tanks now rolling up. Is there a tank rolling up somewhere? Oh, a couple of tanks over here. Halpan isn't as snappy as could be. Wow, that is just a Zerg killing field over here. And you can't see where it's going wrong because Halpan has now got 51 workers and Zerg only got 22. You can last an hour on the main with 22 workers. But that is not enough. And now Halpan / Iron is gathering steam. The third base up and running. Eco-wise, it's now more than double that of Zerg. And although the workers are distributed rather nicely, with all the mutas over here and the infantry over there and the tanks now rolling up, the tanks I think are going to be nailing the coffin because now the natural will be taken, and although the Hydras will kill a couple of tanks, in the end a lot of Hydras will die and then there will be no army to stop this tearing thing rolling. Fourth base being taken by Iron, immediately setting up shop with a couple of turrets, and still 22 drones for Purple Swarm. That's just not good enough. And although Iron is taking its sweet time of ranging the natural, in the end there can only be one answer, and that is when the Zerg main is getting low. Here you go, the natural being overrun, the main overrun, technology gone, and now, yeah, you can try and rebuild over here, but still 9 workers. So that's going to be the GG, and next game up it's going to be Gibot versus Gia. And I'm going to speed it up just a tiny little bit because well, the early stages aren't all that interesting anyway. You can see the construction of the SimCity in record speed, and that's a lot of Zerglings coming up, but with a couple of Zealots, and ooh, now the cannons are up for grabs, but the probes are coming off the line, and Gibot is holding quite comfortably, and now Gia has only got 9 workers, planting 2 Sunkens and losing more workers, now 10 workers. The question will be what Protoss will do to quell this Zerg upstart. And there we go, we are going to see a couple of Corsairs. Overlords are in a very shaky position because Gia has only, oh well, it's got 16 workers now, so okay-ish. Protoss though has got 54, has got 3 times as many, more than 3 times, and although Zerg is trying to fight as well as it can, Protoss has got the eco advantage, has got the tech advantage, has got the army advantage. All advantages are in the hands of Protoss right now, and if you are going to throw away Overlords like that, it may be safe to assume that you're not going to win this game. Now Protoss isn't really as aggressive as could be, lots of infrastructure, no third base, lots of Zealots, but they're not doing anything. The Corsairs are trying to shut things down, but with the reader on the high ground, it doesn't really understand the concept of high ground, low ground, but might eventually reach a useful destination. Yep, there we go. And now the work count for Zerg is in the toilet, lots of Corsairs all over the place. And this Reaver over here, the main army's there, but it will only be a matter of time. And Gearbot failed with the Zergling all in and did not recover correctly. So the new bot delivery must be some kind of a wordplay on delivery or something and a name. Dealing, I don't know. So let's see what it's going to do. Pool first. And an Overlord. And then not 6 Zerglings, 3 drones. Then the expansion. Not the best start of the game you could have, but it is getting things done. First Zealot is going to walk straight by the first Zerglings, and the Zerglings are now going to town on the workers. So lots of workers lost, and although the delivery has only got 10 workers of its own, it's now got 3 hatches. It's trying to build something over here, but it's not really succeeding for some reason. I don't know what this drone is going to do, but it looks kind of stuck. But right now, a lot of Zerglings are going to be made. Production tab looks like Zerglings, and of course the Zealot will shut everything down. Hasn't got +1, no workers being added, so that's good. I think this worker is holding things up. And you can see that the Protoss Zealots are moving in, are going to kill things, and for a start it can do you a lot of good, but I don't think that this drone is having a lot of fun, although it's flipping out. Must have something rather delicious for breakfast. And the delivery is trying to get things done with only Zerglings, but I can tell you, it's not going to work. GG! No, not again. Ah, shut up. It's Proxy versus Purple Wave, and Purple Wave is a very good Protoss. The unit micro is a little bit hesitant at times, and Proxy we saw last game with a very beautifully macroed Hydra thing. And now the Zealots are all over this and just get beaten back right in the nick of time, a handful of Zerglings, but a lot of life is being lost. And with 2 Zerglings and 1, no, the Zealots are still all over this. And this dedicated 2 gate is petering out because, oh no, Purple Wave is not reinforcing it. It has no detection of any way to see if the game was won, and now with 2 Sunkens over here, the Zerglings are going to hit the base and there will be nothing there at all. Oh, there is 1 Zealot, that's good. There is also 1 gateway, so in an okay position right now. We've got 1 Sunken basically because this one is so dead it will only last 1 Zealot, but it wavers and gets itself killed. Now Proxy has got a nice work account for 2 bases, so doing okay in that regard. 2 hatches over here, 1 over there. Now with 2 full health Sunkens in an okay position to hold things up for the near future. Purple Wave setting up shop at the Natural with a pair of cannons, and behind that surely will take the Nexus anytime soon, or some more cannons first. The Zerglings and the Zealot do some skirmishing in the middle of the map, not really getting any conclusive victory out of that. +1 will finish momentarily, and I think that's a good time to push the Zealots back a little bit, because when it's done, it will be bloody and pretty quickly. Now the Zerglings will find this base over here, and that means that this base no longer is safe unless you try and defend it. But the Zerglings are getting pretty low with the tagging by the goons, and of course the hard hits of the Zealots with the +1. And the waiting now is for the... oh, there they are. There are the Hydras. Have we got any upgrades for Hydras yet? No, we haven't got not a single one. And now, of course, we had Zealots and Goons over Zerglings, and now it will be Hydras and Sunkens over the Protoss army. But the Hydra Cloud isn't upgraded at all, and it's not very big, so the Zealots might still do a respectable bit of damage. 3rd base for Zerg is up though, and already 25 workers, which was more than Purple Zerg had at last in the last game. But you can see that these Hydras aren't as well microed as this army over here, and this time Purple Wave is correctly assessing the situation that it can probably beat the Zerg army, and is therefore on the march, populating the Natural. And I think this game is pretty balanced. Zerg needs to get some kind of an army together, because if it doesn't, these Hydras will just be mopped up in small numbers, and that will not benefit anyone except the Protoss, and from a Zerg perspective that's not good at all. So Protoss really can't break these Sunkens, and Zerg can't really get any kind of a Hydra thing together to bust the Protoss army in any kind of definitive fashion. Now with a couple of goon kills, perhaps it might outdo the Zealots. And a 4th base, so that's good. And Protoss is not hindering these expansions at all. Have we got any upgrades? Yes, we've got speed and range for the Hydras, no weapons, no armor. But you can see the Hydra weapon getting more potent as time goes by. And Protoss taking a 3rd base. What kind of tech we'll be seeing? Lots of gateway stuff for now. Main is getting low, and that is a good time to take a 3rd. But Zerg is going to be a little bit of a plague. And last week we saw that this was the time where Proxy really shone. It is right there where it will get large numbers of Hydras and is unstopped in its economic endeavors. So this base over here will be found, will probably be attacked, but Protoss at this time, and if you take a small peek at the production tab, Zerg is really exploding at this point. It's got 70 workers almost, and although it's losing a bucketload of them, it's also rebuilding a bucketload more. So for now, I think that Zerg is golden. Protoss has got this one opportunity to get things done, but really needs either a decisive victory or take out a base, because otherwise it's going to be all downhill from here. You can see the production tab, it's really insane. And it's only good that Proxy doesn't have Evo chambers and is not upgrading its Hydras as it should. Because if you've got this many Hydras, for only 100 and 100 you get +1 armor, and 150 for both minerals and gas will give you +1 armor, which will make your army much more potent. And here is the pendulum swinging, and it's going to swing in favor of Zerg. And although there is a Dark Templar, there are so many Hydras. This small outpost over here is going to be torn down, and once it is, have we got Overlord speed? No, we have just plain ignoring the Dark Templars. No Overlord is coming to their rescue. But right now, production tabs look like this, and Zerg is exploding on the map with 70 workers, pretty well balanced, taking more and more bases, and you can see where this is all leading. Although there aren't many upgrades, there are a hell of a lot of units, and these two Archons, well, they are going to kill an atrocious amount of Zerglings, but here goes one, there goes the other, and now the 3rd base will be torn down in a matter of seconds. Look at these units go, and imagine this kind of macro with the tenacity of Cherry Pie or TSMU with any kind of upgrades, and still macroing like a champion. It's really taking all the bases on the map, and with this kind of an eco it could place a lot of turrets to defend while not wasting any supply. This Archon is doing its utmost, and this Dark Templar is doing its utmost as well. And if you had any kind of means to evaluate how well a Dark Templar was doing, you could build 10 more and then be done with this game. But now the Naturals in tatters, and the map is awash. And look at this production tab go, it's really insane. Proxy keeping its money of 70 workers down perfectly. Lots of hatches all over the place, and well, I think we're going to see the natural taken, but not before this base will be torn to shreds by this the Dark Templar could have taken the perfect position right here and not allow any units in there. But right now it is over. It is completely gone. It is in the bag for Protoss. Will we have the double row production tab? No, that was it. And Zerg is maxed, and that was the GG. What a fight by Proxy. Will be one of the players to watch in CIG if it is going to participate, because it's such a beautiful monster, and that is really something that we are seeing more and more in the games of today, that you start with the SimCity and the macro of these Protoss and Zerg is so good, and still Crazio is the uncontested #1 with 100 points to the #2. So with the Zerg and the Protoss growing so strong, I think it's only a matter of time before Terran gets crushed, and Terrans will have to start doing something else but take the map with their siege tanks and mines and bio hordes. But for now, the Terrans have things well under control. There is, well, the one Terran basically, because Iron is faltering. TSMU Terran isn't as strong as it once was, well, compared to the rest of the world. And the first muter is out for IGJ bot. And this was one of these games which I just like to see, because IGJ I don't really know much about, but it was a nice long or large replay, which means a longish game, and let's see how it's going to pan out. So lots of workers on 2 bases, not too many drones, no drone transfer to the natural, and really a sort of distributed kind of thing, and Sparks is going to sit behind this improvised wall with the tank, with a handful of bio and another tank, so should be in an okay position to get things done. And IGJ is finally making another drone, that's good, because you're going to need a lot of drones, and let's see how this is going to work. The Vulture is going to micro all these links down one by one, and make a nice minefield over here for no good reason, I think, because that's not a threatened position anyway. And Terran is slowly taking control of this game. Oh, and the mutas are over here. That is some excellent muta micro, that's almost Korean level. They are nicely grouped and reinforced, and they are killing things in one shot, basically. Look at them go. They could be a little bit more aggressive, but they are doing such a lot of damage. Workers are being lost all over the place, and the cloud is being reinforced as we speak while the links hold the middle of the map. And look at these mutas go. It's really beautiful to watch. Terran is not doing anything about that, and that's strange. Although it hasn't got an armory, but should be doing something about that. And these mutas, shot by shot, dismantle the entire base. Every shot, units die, and the dropship's still okay. And they don't let themselves get drawn in a wild vulture chase. And look at the damage, look at this damage. Zerglings just skirmish a little bit with these vultures in the middle of the map. Muta Cloud is growing. Will we have any upgrades? Yes, +1 attack. So IGJ is basically, in this game, going for the perfect muta play. And look at the damage being done. How many mutas we got? We've got a cloud of 30 mutas. And of course the human player can control 12 at a time, and one with the drone will allow an overlord to keep them clustered like this. And AI has not got any of this problem. Just slap 40,000 APM on the table and you can have something like this. The vultures take down some drones because the Sunken is badly positioned, but with the muta cloud growing and growing, you can see this game is only going one way. And the natural's there, but there are no workers, so this will take forever. And I'm just letting this game play because I want to see how these mutas are going to do. And let's see, what are they going to target next. They're just in a couple of shots. This cloud is so big. It's beautiful. They're dealing 200 damage shot, basically. And in 4 shots take down the machine shop. In 5 shots they take down the factory. And in 6 shots a command center. It's so methodical. Now they're going to go for the bunker. They kill a tank in 1 shot. They ignore the bunker for some reason. Finally a muta dies, and AGJ bot had a good time because Sparks didn't really have an answer to it. But with muta play of this kind, it's going to be very hard for any bot to contest with that. And now they're going after the one vulture, which will probably run into some kind of wall, yeah, and die. The damage. The damage. It is so beautiful. Such a tight cloud of so many mutas. And how many did we have? Oh, there's one building over here still. We've got 40 mutas in 1 cloud. And they are not finding the last. What kind of damage would you have with 50 mutas in 1 cloud? It would be 500 damage per shot. And it's really a pity we don't see this thing attacking and killing anymore because it's so very beautiful. We've got 60. Well, we have 70. We'll have 70 mutas. And now they're flipping the hell out because they can't really group any closer than this. And the game will time out because, well, it's too slow. But nice victory by IGJ. And next game up, it's Hao Pan again, and this time against 4Spot, which of course is one of the exponents of the Gold Project. The Gold Project is a Brood War group assignment at the Delft Technical University in Holland. I was there last year, it was glorious. There were 200 students in about 40-50 groups working on bots. And oh dear, Hao Pan is going for some kind of a bunker rush, but the principle is sort of lost on it. But 4Spot is falling apart so bad, it doesn't really matter. And well, it's a nice play by Hao Pan, but it's could be executed a little bit better. But all in all the workers are dead. It's the GG. And penultimate game is Pineapple Cactus versus ABCDXYZ. And Pineapple is going to play, of course, as the Zerg, and is going for, I think, Depot first. Pooh first, and then not an expansion, although it's got a lot of money. Going for a quick lair and some SCVs to the other end of the map. ABC is going for 2-gate goo with range, and I think that's the standard for Protoss these days. Because you can out-micro a lot of Zerglings like this. It would help if you were inclined to fire, otherwise it's going to be a little bit harder. That's a lot of gateways. But now with 2 goons, I think you're in an okay position to stop this Zerg thing dead in its tracks. And Pineapple is going for a Spire of 1 base, has got 200 minerals in the bank, which is okay, but not the best. And these goons really, and they're so lucky that these Zerglings like gateways more than goons. Otherwise this game would have been over already. Now with 3 goons, perhaps the Zergling thing can be stopped in its tracks this time. Protoss taking another base. And ideally you'd just throw up a pylon over here, just for some sight range and for some map control. Zerg now with another base, and we'll be building mutas, probably. Or later, or build infrastructure and commit to a lair, a Hydra den and a spire, and then not use the spire for reasons. While Protoss is in an okay position with a handful of goons, and now the handful of goons are going to town on the Zerg base. And Zerg hasn't really got too much to contend this aggression. Building some Sunkens, but in a bad position. And still we have very little in the form of combat units. And ABCD is now with a 2 base with double gas and no drone transfer, doing okay and building a lot of gateway units. So lots of goons of 2 bases, and of course therefore you need a lot of gas. As can be seen here, gas clearly is the bottleneck. And slowly but surely Pineapple is turtling its way with Sunkens toward the natural again. But by now there are so many goons over there, it's going to be a little bit hard to try and reach that. And will this Sunken be constructed eventually? Yes, it will, but then it will die. And now the goons have got the high ground. And still mining gas. Lots of gas in the bank. And ABCD is building a lot of goons and a little bit of probes too, so that's good. Because if you've got more minerals, you might build more goons, and of course you need a lot of goons. And this game has somewhat stalled, so that's okay. Might balance this a little bit, because with 22 workers, might transfer a couple to here. And let's see if these goons, yep, these goons are going for the charge. Killing things, not left and right, but slowly and surely. And Pineapple Cactus really can't get it done. The goons have things well under control, killing all the tech, killing all the drones. And, oh dear, that's nice, because you'll have another round of turrets over here. And don't forget to harvest minerals, because with only 2 workers left, that is how the game is going to run. Third base up for ABCD, and ABCD is doing quite well, but well, nice bit of macro there. And that is the game. So last game for today will be Middle School Strats versus Travis Shelton. Travis Shelton as the random player, rolled Terran, and there is nothing like a good TVZ. Middle School Strats, however, is somewhat indicative, I think, of the base kind of play we are going to see. And if I see 4 drones mining and then 3 eggs being morphed, 4 eggs being morphed, and all Zerglings, I can only hope that Travis will have something prepped by then. And it doesn't look like it, because although the barracks will probably finish, there isn't a single Marine there, and a lot of SCVs will suffer as a consequence. Now Middle School Strats is building more and more units, and this is not really a good way to end a broadcast. So, well, what can I do? I will just grab one more game from the server, and based on who is... I don't want the number 2, because number 1, number 2, Locutus versus... let's see, I've got those, these, all of them. Killerbot versus Timu, something like that. Killerbot, we have got Killerbot versus let's see Killerbot versus Banana. Because this isn't really, a 4-pull is not really a nice way to end the broadcast, so I say GG to Middle School Strats. Let's wait for the High School Strats, and let's welcome everyone to the last game of the broadcast. It will be Killerbot, known by its author's name, Marion Deveka, and Marion is a boy, or by now a man, or was always a man. Well, he was a boy once, but once he coded this bot, he was already a man. So, Marion is a man and is going to play Banana Brain. Banana Brain going for, I think it's going to be a 1 gate goon range kind of thing. Yep, there we go, and with another pylon, and we'll be building another... Oh, no, we're not rebuilding another gateway. And now Killerbot is doing its thing with the balancing of workers and army. That's always a hallmark of a very good player, and now with 2 gates and of course the Citadel, and this... No, there might be a Templar Archive soon, and Killerbot has got 18 workers, building a couple of hatches, and that is really the hallmark of a good player, just going for the map control and not losing too many units in wading in and out. If you are going to retreat, like we see here, retreat. If you are going to attack, attack, but not try to do everything at once and change your mind every 10 seconds. And once you reach home, you have the Sunkens to help and defend you, and then you turn your army around and kill whatever is coming at you. And Banana Brain, although it's fighting hard, is not really going to succeed here, because there is so much pressing fire from these 2 Sunkens. But I think that its plan all along was to throw down that natural. And now we've got the Templar Archive. You'll be seeing another gateway. Is that going to be goon range? Yes, it is. And that is a lot of probes. We've got 30 probes, only 20 drones. And Killerbot really ought to take more bases or make more drones, build another hatch. Banana Brain's got a lot of money and a relatively small army. And Zerg, if you kill this goon, you can overrun the rest, no problem. Hydra range and speed are done. So that should be a consideration. Just try to kill the goon and then snipe all the zealots, but that is not really something that is incorporated in this kind of combat simulator situation, where you say, well, what if this goon were dead? My Hydras would win, so I can expend X and Y forces to try and kill that goon and just get things done. Killerbot, now still 22 workers, and we saw earlier by Protoss Swarm's example that 22 workers is not enough, and especially not if the Protoss is going to take a 3rd base. Forges are spinning, the Stargate is spinning, and Zerg is still on only 22, now going for another one. But, oh dear, I totally missed that. Rewind. The fighting is hard at the bridges, and in the near future, Zerg will break this defense. Oh, and it's Protoss which does it, because it tries to defend over here. There was one unit, gets its entire army out of position. Lots of probes die all over the place, and although the Zealots with the one cannon are doing a murderous job on the Hydras, in the end, the Hydras have it and have now control of the realm, and that's not good. Because, oh dear, we've got the Corsair, which is being hindered by this one Hydra. I think that Protoss might just hold this, but at what cost? And again, in the third base, there are Hydras and Zerglings as well, and the two Zealots do clean everything up. The Templar survive, all the Nexuses still stand, but now Zerg will have 3 bases soon, and might have more drones, or must build more drones as well. The Corsairs, though, take things rather easily, and will this Nexus be saved? Yes, probably it will. Zerg will have to evacuate the area, and with a bit of hesitant movement, will in the end do so. Zerg has got a good army, but has got sidetracked, and although it did a lot of damage, it didn't really touch any of the important infrastructure. The Nexuses, a lot of probes got killed, but with 3 Nexuses you can rebuild them quite quickly. And with 2 cannons you can defend that quite easily, and these 3 Hydras will not depopulate this base. This cannon will be done momentarily, this one will be rebuilt soon too, I believe. And still Killabot on 3 bases with now 22 workers. You must build more workers. Purple Swarm couldn't do it with 22 workers. And although there is a large wave of Hydras rolling up, the Zealots are cutting it down here. And although the 3rd base might fall, and that is very good for Killabot, Killabot's still on 22 workers. Might this be an example of winning a game with 22 workers? Looks like it. The Zealots are doing a murderous job. Let's look at the upgrades. Zealots have got so many upgrades. But now Protoss is expanding over here as well. Zerg isn't really getting its show together. Still 22 workers. And although Protoss is losing another base, there is only every so often you can lose 2 bases and recover from that. You can see the Protoss army is very small. Protoss is not getting any kind of a sensible army together. Storm is ready. This Templar, will it have enough energy? It will, and it only kills 1 Hydra. And the Hydras now are killing off the Zealots. And on 22 workers, it looks like Killabot is going to win the game. That is so very low eco, so very tight. The new 3rd base is going to be under attack. The Corsairs can't do anything, and the Natural is being overrun again. The Zealots are trying to do what they can. These probes should be mining ASAP, because the main is out, and if you are not mining, there is no income, which means that you will die in the end. And Killabot of 22 drones is taking the victory, killing off this base, killing off the Natural, killing all the probes. And Banana Brain was doing so well, but then dropped the ball and really couldn't win one of the assaults on the 3rd. Displaced its armies once too far, and is now paying the price. And although this Corsair is doing a good job of detracting 20 Hydras, in the end it will not matter, because either it's going to fall or the Hydras are going to find their own way into the main base. And now still 22 workers are enough for Killabot. Killabot honouring its name, and also telling the story of how it got so high up on, ELO rating, got so high up despite being updated last time about 1.5 years ago, and that is the story of today. So if you are going to build 22 workers as a Zerg, better be able to back it up with good play. Thank you for watching, thank you everyone who has recommended the game, and of course thank you everyone who has been coding these Gosu AIs so we can all enjoy watching them. For now I say good night and see you again next week.